everyone, this is Miss Peggle here, and I've taken over Paul's channel and my accent. Today I've forced him to talk about the best sports game that was ever made, Nintendo Switch Sports for the... Duh, it's for the Nintendo Switch. What the heck, Peggle? Okay, now I'm going to be honest. When I first heard about this game when it was announced, I wasn't completely hooked as I was for Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort because they were so successful and are clearly superior, so I was really concerned yet curious on how they could do any better. However, I'll admit that when I got the game I was hooked, so much so that I stayed up till 4 AM because I was having so much fun. 4 AM of her time. I was probably wide awake at the time she was playing it. For those that have seen the game, you've probably noticed one of the biggest differences for the character you play as. It's no longer a me! Insert voluntary swearing words in here because she's an Aussie. Nope, instead you play as a very cutesy human, known as a sports mate, that you can customize to suit you. However, the Mii's aren't gone completely. You can actually place your Mii's head on the body. However, I personally don't like it very much. The Mii's head is bigger than the body! And she's clearly never played Dynamite Headdy, or she would have thought this was a great idea to put in the game. Now, getting into the actual game, there's a giant town called Spoko? I don't know how they pronounce it. Square, with 6 different sports, 3 classics that were seen in the other games, and 3 brand new ones. The music, in my opinion, her very, very subjective opinion, is actually really nice and modern. It's also quite catchy. Although Paul would probably disagree, yes I do disagree, I guess I'm too young to enjoy good classical music. I actually really like the graphics as well. Nintendo has a habit of shocking me all the time when the graphics in games get better. So I wanted to talk about each sport they showed. Of course, we'll start with the ones we know. The first 3 were the familiar ones, bowling and tennis from Wii Sports, and sword fighting, or the actual name Chambara, from Wii Sports Resort. Now, all 3 of these games have barely changed. They're pretty much the same, except for bowling. While I still love bowling in this game, they have pretty much added a thing where it's like a competition, and you gotta try and get first place, aka Battle Royale, so she must not have played Fortnite. There are about 5 rounds, and if you don't get up to the final round, you get booted and have to join a new game. While some people, including me, not Paul, including her, would find this annoying, others find it a fun way to play bowling and more challenging. Now, the 3 new ones are volleyball, football/soccer, depending on your region, and badminton. Personally, I find volleyball my least fave. She didn't put an E next to fave, so is she trying to say fav? As sometimes it can be difficult to hit, block, or shoot the ball. Sometimes, make that all the time, it tells you you're too early or too late when it seems you got the timing right. Soccer was actually shocking, for I think a lot of us when it was revealed, and it's quite fun. You're running around and trying to kick the ball with either your Joy-Con or even a new way with the Joy-Con strapped to your leg to kick. Assuming you actually have the ring strap and then pay an extra $10 for this game. It instantly reminded me for some reason of Rocket League. I guess you could say this is the human version of Rocket League. The only disappointing thing about it is that you only have 3 minutes to shoot a goal. I personally wish that changed for us to actually have a time limit, perhaps up to 20 minutes, as 3 minutes is too short. Now, badminton actually annoyed a lot of people when it was shown, as we've already got tennis, so why do we need a more challenging and shorter version of tennis? I almost read that as Tetris. Personally, I find it fun to play. While it's a short round, it's fun tricking the player to do small hits to try to win. The only issue I have with it is that it's best out of 5. Again, like soccer, I wish we could choose how many rounds we wanted to do. While the sports are fun to play, you don't just play them. No, not at all. You get points to get prizes for items, which are clothes, hairstyles, accessories, and titles to have next to your name. I'm sure Paul really wants the title Epic to use. Each week, there's a new theme of items you can win for your character to wear. And if you've collected all the items, you can get a full-on outfit to wear. Oh gosh, Peggle, that's been around for ages. Like currently, as of the 18th of May, you can wear an actual animal costume. I think it's a squirrel or a raccoon. I can't really tell. Maybe it's a tanuki and you just need your eyes checked. I find this a really fun way to keep playing and win outfits. However, I hope in the future we get other prizes other than just items for our character, like maybe more sports. Also, there's a whole new fun thing to do which reminded me of Splatoon 2. If you played the games a few times, you get to start playing competitively and have a rank. You start with E- and go all the way up to A+. While it's a fun way to play, it is quite hard to rank up as you rank quite slowly. Yeah, this is her first review, so her grammar's not always the best. Now, there's one big downside to this game. That's the part she wanted me to edit, so take 2. This game actually does have offline play, but it's a very convoluted way of getting to it. You need to have your Switch in offline or not have Nintendo Switch online. It's called trial mode. But considering that Paul here nearly keeps his Switch online all the time, of course he wouldn't have spotted that, so I am clearly the superior reviewer. Yes, she wrote every single word of that in here, guys. Now this game isn't actually done. Nope! Because Nintendo has to rush their products, of course. Later this year, they're adding Golf, a good classic game from Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. I personally disagree, but I'll let her have her fun here. I find it great that they're adding new sports in with updates, and I really hope they add other sports in, as it seems there is a deck leading to water, so maybe we'll get a water sport from Wii Sports Resort, such as WAV boarding. She forgot to put an E again. Do you not like the letter E, Peggle? Or air sports with the planes. They could even do a whole new sport, which would also be awesome. Although I don't know what more they could add. You don't know what more they could... Moving on. I think a lot of us really want them to add boxing with Boxing Matt, which Paul doesn't know who he is. He says I should get cultured. Actually, I do know who Boxing Matt is. I just didn't know that that was his name. Which I happen to agree, boxing was very iconic from Wii Sports. So I think that would be awesome to play and see how our characters fight and how our Joy-Cons would work, if they don't drift. All in all, I found this game really fun, and it's just great playing my childhood all over again. Her childhood? Gosh, she's young. I have no doubt Paul will add this to his worst games of 2022 list, but honestly, it doesn't matter, as long as I love it. I hope you enjoyed this review. So sorry it's not like Paul's reviews. This is my first time trying this, so I'm not the best at it. Please subscribe to Paul. Please like and subscribe. All of that jargon that Paul hates to say. He works really hard on these reviews, and I guess you can come bother me if Paul lets you. Have a great day! Good evening, my friends. This is Paul. You might be wondering why I had Peggle write out the script for me instead of just, reviewing it for myself. Well, I tried to, but as soon as I turned on the game, it asked me to update my Joy-Cons, and it refused to let me play with a traditional controller. So I said, okay, well, this shouldn't take long. I never got past the 0% mark. And from what I've seen of other YouTubers complaining about the same thing, they were able to update their controllers just fine, so I think my problem was that I have third-party Joy-Cons in order to avoid the drift. So Nintendo's like, ew, we gotta have our drifting controllers, what the heck? So that's why she wrote the review, because she didn't want me to have to miss out on putting this on my YouTube channel. Now, obviously, I can't comment on things like the reliability of the motion controls or how much fun the games are because I couldn't try it. But I can comment on what I've seen, what I know about Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, and how I think it stacks up to those other games. Yes, this is Peggle's first try, so there were obviously a handful of things that she forgot to mention. So I'll just quickly summarize by saying that Wii Sports admittedly felt more like a tech demo, but it was a pack-in title for the Wii in every region of the world except for Japan, because their work pay culture is weird, and Shigeru Miyamoto threw a fit and all that fun stuff. And I think a lot of people saw it as, we're getting this as a freebie, so we shouldn't expect too much. But it was an introduction to the first controller ever to be primarily based on motion controls. And it did a good job of serving up that niche audience at the time. And then Wii Sports Resort came along, which made use of the Wii Motion Plus, and it had 29 games, give or take, One of them being sword fighting, which was incredible. I actually got to pro level ranking on that because I just kept practicing so much. And I really liked how you could like see a graph that tracked your progress. One of the mini games even let you fly in an airplane around the island and get a guided tour of like what each of the landmarks mean. And it just felt so cool that Nintendo had created this big open world to explore, and then they eventually started using it in other Nintendo games such as Smash, Mario Kart 7, Wii Fit, and I just think Woohoo Island is one of the most iconic hub worlds for a vacation/sports game that I've ever seen. Wii Sports Club, I only played a little bit of it because it had this really weird rental system, so I just thought, well, that's stupid, what the heck? So most of my opinions are going to be on pretending that Wii Sports Club never happened, and just thinking, does Nintendo Switch Sports hold up as a sequel to Wii Sports Resort? From what I have seen, no! It doesn't even come close. Sure, the 6 sports on hand might be really fun to control and have good graphics, but it misses out on a lot of what made Wii Sports Resort just flat out cool. And you could go back to it later and you'd still be blown away. This feels like the kind of sport where you could beat it in an afternoon and then say, that's it? Why do I want to play anymore? Yes, Peggle mentioned the rating system, but there's only 6 games. 3 of the 6 use a net, and they also have odd little quirks, like you can only select the CPU's difficulty on one of the mini games. I think it was tennis, and you can't like switch up if you want to do singles instead of just doubles. She forgot to mention that in Chambara you can choose between 3 different swords. You have the regular sword, then you have the charge sword, and you have the twin swords, which I thought the twin swords look really cool, because it kind of reminds me of Darth Maul's double-edged lightsaber in Star Wars The Phantom Menace, one of the only good things about that movie. And I personally think that they didn't need to go that extra mile because sword fighting was already magnificent in Wii Sports Resort. But that's pretty much the only thing I'm going to praise about this game, because from what I've seen, everything else feels like it's one of those swing and a miss kind of things. Soccer, or football if you're in Britain, in Australia they actually say soccer, so I was quite surprised to hear that in her review. I would say it's adequate that she compared it to Rocket League, as I actually used to own that game, and I believe I also reviewed it. And I thought that the biggest problem was that the field was way too big. For the speed that the characters ran, and they had a stamina meter to make it even harder to get from place to place, they should have made it so that either the characters ran faster or the field was shrunken down like it was in the Mario Strikers games. Also, the leg strap minigame only lets you kick the ball from like standing in place. You can't actually like use the Joy-Con's control stick to move around and then kick with your actual leg. You have to play a dedicated mini game. So the ball being too big, the field being too big, it just feels like that, coupled with the 3-minute time limit, just makes it seem like it's so terrible. Now, I personally was completely indifferent to them announcing golf, because I hated golf in the Wii Sports games. Like, even in Wii Sports Resort with the Wii Motion Plus, I just could not even get myself to swing the ball. No matter how hard I mimicked an actual golfing motion, it would always say that my swing was too curved, and it would never tell me how to make it uncurved, which I guess is the inherent problem of motion controls, is that depending on where you put the sensor, it just messes up. So I'm glad she's excited. But I think another big thing that really disappointed me about Nintendo Switch Sports is that Spoko, however you say it, the main hub world isn't explorable. Like, sure, you can see it in the background, and you see it as like the selection screen for picking the sports. But I would have loved it if you could wander around it. Like, when I first saw Spako Square, it reminded me of Alavel Mall in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And that was actually a lot of fun to explore, even if it didn't capture the feeling of actually being in a mall. But then again, it was a deserted, abandoned wasteland, so how could it? Wii Sports Resort let you explore Woohoo Island, so why does it feel like this is a massive step backwards in that department? And I know the Miis are missing. I personally have mixed opinions on the Sportsmates. On one hand, I do like how they have more of a professional, clean look to them, But on the other hand, from what I've seen, their options to customize are incredibly limited compared to what you could do with the Miis. Like, sure, the Miis you would only be able to customize their bodies, like you couldn't actually change what clothes they wore or put a hat on them or anything like that. But there was so much possibility in like making pretty much your own character. Like you could put your eyebrows below your eyes on the original Miis. You can't do that with sports mates. So I feel like if I had been able to play the game, I would have been totally fine with seeing my Mii's head on the sportsmate's body, especially if they do the usual option of not allowing guys to have long hair that Nintendo games seem to love doing. So, overall, I think I'm grateful that Peggle had such a good time. Like, she actually owns the game and is trying to get all the collectibles, which that's also really weird. Like, you have a set, and then after you get enough points, the game like goes through this item roulette to pick one of the items in the set instead of just giving it to you. Like, why not at the very least either hide what items you're getting or make a type of currency? Like instead of points, you get money and then you can spend the money at a shop. Then again, maybe Nintendo didn't want to be tempted to put in microtransactions, so I don't know what the heck is going on. I just think that if it's fun, it's fun. It just has very limited appeal. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comment section how well you think Peggle did, and if you agree with my additional factors, and if you think she should be a professional reviewer or if she should go back to the playpen. So until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!